Good day, comrades and friends. This is Dr. Gabe Roberts, the quantum chiropractor, the subconscious healer, new thought minister, and your expert in energy medicine. When we think of plants that we see on a regular basis, whether it's grass growing on the road, we see it as we drive to work, or our house plants, or perhaps the trees that we commonly see throughout the day, maybe in our front yard. It's no doubt that plants are an everyday part of our environmental visual stimuli. Green is a normal part of our everyday landscape, which we constantly see in our periphery as we go about our lives. What may surprise you, though, is plants are more than just a rooted, stationary organism. And as we've come to know as organisms that use sunlight for food, they give us oxygen, they actually breathe in our carbon dioxide. But there's much more to plants than meets the eye. In fact, there is hard evidence that plants are actually able to sense much more than we assume as we share our environment with them. Randy Fonts, a researcher in parapsychology, presents an experiment in determining a plant's ability to sense human emotions. Alongside him is Dr. Norman Goldstein, a professor of biology and an expert in the science of electrophysiology. They are attempting to determine if a plant, in this case, Mimosa pudica, is able to respond to human emotion. We could all agree human emotion is a normal part of everyday life. And to see if it goes beyond ourselves and is sensed by plants would be a surprise to most people. Placing the plant in a protective barrier surrounded by plexiglass to prevent wind movements and airflow from external motion from the human subject, the person is seated about 5 feet away and is hooked to monitoring equipment, as well as monitoring equipment watching and observing the plant. The subject is sitting in a chair, hooked up to like a galvanic skin response, things that will record feedback from his nervous system and his emotions as he's watching a television monitor, which is going to display a variety of different kinds of stimuli. Initially, the TV shows normal, unprovoking displays of visual effects, trees blowing in the wind, that sort of thing. And the plant's baseline closely parallels the man's baseline on the machine's recordings. Then, as more provocative displays of stimuli begin to get shown on the TV screen, such as sexual stimuli, the man's vitals are displaying changes as his nervous system responds to the screen, closely followed by the plant having similar changes in its electronic physiology, and it's displayed on the recordings. Then, as time goes by, more aggravating displays of events are shown on the screen of the TV. More and more emotions are felt by the man's nervous system, and again, the plant's recordings completely parallel his. The TV screen continues to show things which would be considered provocative and what most people would consider deeply emotional, such as buildings exploding and massive explosions and eruptions of landscapes. In the conclusion, though, it was very clear. Both scientists consider it a success, addressing that the experiment was quite well done, and they conclude that the man's response from his emotional changes produced an energetic wave that is completely felt by the Mimosa pudica plant. Now, these experiments were successfully reproduced several times, showing that plants are sensitive to emotions felt by people, and actually they have physiologically measurable reactions as well. So when you see plants around you, trees, bushes, grass along the road, or a house plant by your window, or that familiar tree in your front yard, imagine how different the whole view of them will be after hearing these experiments. We are surrounded by plants the majority of our lives, and many times we aren't aware that they are indeed eavesdropping on us in more ways than we're aware of. Go to my page, Dr. Gabe Roberts, and like it, tag a friend, as I continue to go in the depth on the mind and show you that the greatest part of you is something that you'll never see.